Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Why, hello, everyone. It's Monday again, and we're almost halfway through the year. How is that possible? But anyway, while 2020 has thrown us with the plague and a pandemic, and we've had protests, and it's a wild time, but I really appreciate all of you who are still tuning in, still looking for books. We sure need a good escape right now, right? And today I'm super excited because my friend Nina has a new cowboy book out, which will be the perfect escape for you right now. So if you've never read Nina before, she is the bomb. She writes some contemporary romances that will make your toes curl. And so I can't wait for you to meet her. And if you haven't read her before, I'm going to read her little bio here and we'll be off. So Nina lives in Florida, where she indulges in her favorite passions, the beach, a good glass of wine, and date night with her own real-life hero and dancing. Her lifelong addiction to romance began in her teens while on a borrowing spree in her older sister's bedroom, where she discovered her first romance novel. How many of us did that, right? So let Nina's sensual contemporary stories and steamy paranormal tales feed your own addiction for love, romance, and happily ever after. And I did put a link to Nina's website. It's right there on the Blog Talk site. So if you're listening live, click that anytime. You can join her newsletter there, see the new books that are out, and her social media links are on there too. So without any further delay, Nina, you there?
Yes. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, so good to talk to you again. We're on opposite sides of the country, but we've been lucky to meet back in the olden days when we were allowed to go to writers' conferences, right?
Absolutely. Actually, I just came across a photo in my feed when we were at RT, and you were with the head of our agency. We were with Lori, so it was just really good to look back at that photo and just kind of reminisce and remember. Like you said, the good old days.
Yeah, when that came up in my memories too on Facebook, I saw that and I was like, oh, the pre-plague days when we could go places.
Yeah, and have share dinner, share dessert, all those good things.
Right. Yeah. Someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your new book is called The Cowboy's Claim, and can you tell everybody why they should run grab it this week?
Oh, wow. I mean, if you enjoy a little bit of opposites attract, there's a little bit of enemies to lovers in this as well, some family legacy drama, and just a whole lot of fun as we explore Tristan, who's a cowboy intent on reclaiming his legacy after being written out of his father's will. And it hasn't been easy for him because some family members have questioned his loyalty. So he's gotten a few loyalty tests on the way. And so he's a little frustrated about that. And in the midst of this, the responsibility of taking care of Chloe, who's an actress that's at the family's horse stable, because that's what the legacy is about, the family's horse stable. She's there to research a part for a movie, but she's got a little, you could say, phobia about horses. And so when sparks happen when these two are thrown together. And so the question is, will this unlikely pair discover that what's between them is anything but an act? And so that's the journey that we get to go on with these two characters.
I love it. And this is going to be a series, right? The Tilbridge Stable?
Yeah, absolutely, because it features Tristan along with his two cousins who are sisters. And they actually inherited the stable from their parents. And so they're really in a place of transformation as they're building their own families and keeping this stable in the family, and it's a really
I love that.
Yeah, and I was excited to write it. It does feature an African American family, and we don't see a whole lot of African American cowgirls and cowboys in romance stories. So I was excited to be able to feature them in this series.
Yeah, and I grew up on a horse ranch. I don't know if you knew that, but my stepfather was a horse trainer, and so we had Morgan horses. But I love that you put an African-American family on a horse ranch, because so many people don't know, but when all these protests happened, I don't know if you caught it, but did you see the riders in Houston?
Somebody actually sent me that photo. Yeah,
and it's all African American horseback riders in Houston, and they were all at the protests, and it was so cool because people don't think about it, but everybody loves horses.
Excellent, yeah, definitely. And with this series itself, it was kind of interesting how it came about. I was in Maryland at the time and had come across an article about a group called the Cowgirls of Color. Actually, they were in this beautiful spread in a magazine, and it caught my attention, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And then a few weeks later, my agent had been in conversation with an editor, talking about, what would they like to see? What are some of the story ideas that they had in mind? And she pulled up the same article and handed it to my agent and said, hey, I would really like to see something about Cowgirls of Color. Do you think Nina would be interested in writing something like that? So it just felt like it was meant to be that I had come across this article and then to have it brought back to me in terms of a possible story idea. And just being able to get into the research, was a wonderful thing. And then as a side note, which shocked my agent, for a long time, a few years ago, I used to follow the Professional Bull Riders Association. So when we were talking about heroes and the subject of bull riders came up, I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I have a whole collection of bull rider trading cards. And, my agent, of course, did not believe that at all. I actually had to send her the picture of the book with, that has probably, I'm afraid to say how many trading cards are in that book.
That is so funny. I didn't even know that there were bull riding trading cards. What?
Yeah, it was. When did they come out? I want to say like 5 years ago. The PBR had trading cards for all of their bull riders, as well as some of the veteran bull riders, and they even featured some of the bulls because they have some they look at them in terms of, I guess you could say, great respect for them. You have to, because these are very large animals. And so, they had these, and I can't even tell you why I started collecting them. Well, that's not true. The Brazilian bull riding team kind of inspired collecting those cards. And, it just became a little bit of a thing, and I ended up with like 100 of them probably.
Wow, I had no idea there were bull riding cards. I think that's fantastic that you.
Yeah, they retired them. So somebody said, well, now you probably have collector's items. So we'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Hold on to those. eBay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, because you've had didn't your other contemporary series have a cowboy in it too? I remember a cowboy on the cover.
Well, sort of. He was a dancer in a male review show, and one of his characters was a cowboy. So,
yes, okay, so there was a cowboy hat on the cover.
Yeah, so technically I have written 2 books about cowboys, but one kind of features riding a cowboy, and one actually features riding horses. So there's a difference.
Okay, that might be my favorite line on the show.
I couldn't resist.
Oh my gosh. So I've got to ask, Have you ever ridden a horse? Been on a horse on a horse farm?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm sure someone is going to come up with a picture like of me at 5 years old on a horse or something. Because I grew up in the Southwest, so I grew up around horses. I had friends who had horses. I was around horses. Of course, in parades and things, I've certainly marched behind my fair share of horses. But as far as actually remember being on one, I don't. So in that respect, I probably identify a little bit with Chloe, because I just, my experience of being around them, even as an adult, it's like, oh my goodness, they're beautiful, but they're so big, it's like
they are very big, yes.
Yeah, so it's a little intimidating. So I have not been on a horse, which was why, as when I was working through the scene about riding a horse, I reached out to you because I happened to see something in your feed with you and, and horses. And I was like, let me talk to someone because, you can read it all day long and you can watch videos on YouTube and et cetera and so forth. But, being able to talk to someone who's actually been on a horse and can explain to you some things that happen and feelings, like you were talking about the full body shake thing with the horse. And I was like,
the full body shake.
If that happened to me, I would die. I would just die. I would not. No, absolutely not. So, just those little things I would not know. And so, being able to talk to you was very helpful and enlightening.
Right. Well, and it's so true. I completely get it because I am writing a book right now where the hero is a pilot. He has his own small plane. And there's only so much I can find out on Google, and watching people fly on YouTube. And my dad has a small airplane, so I called him and he was so excited. I'm like, give me lingo. What does it sound like when you're landing and you're talking to the tower? And he's telling me these things. I'm like, oh my God, that's good. But these are all things as a writer, if you haven't done it before, you need to talk to someone because you're right. There's only so many things you can get off Google, and I'm pretty sure a full body shake of your horse isn't on there.
No, it was not there. It was not there at all. But you're right. I think sometimes people don't realize the research that does go into romance. In terms of our characters and where they live and what they do. I mean, in fact, tomorrow, in research, dealing with research for my next book that's in the Breakup Bash series, the one with
Riding the Cowboy.
Riding the Cowboy. The third book involves a DJ. Oh, Lisa.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm too immature for this.
That's okay. Well, I brought it up, so that tells you kind of where my mind lands every now and then. But the third book in the Breakup Bash series,
we need to laugh.
The DJ. We do. And so tomorrow, I'm actually going to interview a DJ that I ran into online who had a really cool podcast, and I reached out to him, and we kept missing each other with our emails, but we finally connected, and so we're going to talk tomorrow, and depending on how our talk goes, he may publish that on his podcast. So, as we get to talk about, as we're talking about the life of a DJ, people just see the part about standing behind the decks and playing music, but there's a whole life there. And so I'm curious to hear what he has to say. So far, as I've shared my notes with him, he says that I'm on point, but just being able to get that little bit of flavor, if you will, in regards to the lingo, like I did with you. With riding the horse, and like you said with your father, learning about flying an aircraft. So it really is neat to have these people who are willing to talk to us. And so, I really appreciated you taking the time to read it and give me that feedback.
Yeah, and it was super good, you guys. So everyone needs to go get the book. I only got to read that one scene, but it was very good.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And I think it's cool when we do get to interview people. Of course, it doesn't happen every time, but we try really hard. And I think that especially in romance as a genre, the hero and the heroine have to make this hero's journey and grow and become somebody new by the end. I think it's really important, whatever job we give them, that it's real, and it makes such a huge difference. And I wrote one book where I had a fire. He worked for the fire department, and I have a friend whose husband is a retired fire captain, and I had already written like 4 chapters of the book before we finally got to talk and told him about my big fire scene. And he's like, yeah, you got to get rid of that. I'm like, what?
Oh.
And I had to rewrite the whole beginning of the book because he's like, that would never happen. And I was like, what? But it turned out it made the book much better because I had to have an arsonist, because he said there's no way this would have burned down because they have fire sprinklers. And I was like, oh, no. And so I had to have an arsonist so they would turn off the fire sprinklers, then set it on fire. And he said, and then they would know because the sprinklers are off. And I was like, oh, so it made it a lot better. And so I wonder if when you talk to this DJ, you're going to get something and go, oh my gosh, this is how this has to happen. Has that ever happened to you before?
Actually, it did with the Tilbridge series, with the Cowboy's Claim, or actually the second book in the Cowboy's Claim. It also involves, as we know, the actress, but also Hollywood and making a movie. And so I was lucky enough to be connected with someone who's absolutely wonderful, by the name of Nadine, who is an actress. She's been a producer. She's been a director. She'd even done a little bit of stunt work and modeling.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so she was like the total package. And so being able to talk to her about making movies and what's involved was important, because in book 2, I had set up a certain premise that involved the stuntman, the hero. And so being able to determine, well, how are these two going to get together, the stuntman and the heroine, who's Tristan's cousin. Her name is Rena, and the stuntman's name is Scott. And so, being able to determine, well, how are Rena and Scott going to come together in the midst of making this movie? And so my original premise of how that was going to happen, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, was a little off. And so what was really cool in being able to talk to her is that she was able to give me real live examples of things in terms of, actors or actresses, no big secrets, things that, are out, but just being able to hear it was just like, oh, really? Yeah. And being able to put 2 and 2 together when, we're thinking of programs or movies or those sorts of things. So definitely I've had that experience of when my mind was going one way and
then you
her
realized,
being able to
shoot.
say, yeah, no, you're
no, that's not how that works.
To make some, yeah, you're gonna have to make some adjustments, and like you said, that lingo part, just being able to hear her say some things. I was taking notes furiously, just in terms of the way that she described things and the language she used, because it was a total, professions have their language, so to speak. So hopefully
they really do.
I have. Yeah. So, my hope is that I have done book 2 justice. It's called Her Sweet Temptation. So hopefully I've done Her Sweet Temptation justice when it comes to the movie making part.
Right. And does the Cowboys Claim, does it take place in Texas? Are they Texas Cowboys, or is it somewhere else?
Well, that was the other interesting thing, is we were looking at doing something a little different with the book, not only with the cowgirls and cowboys, but also the location. Because as I mentioned, I didn't mention, the cowgirls of color are actually based in Maryland. And so people don't always think of, that culture being on the East Coast or, in different parts of the country other than the West. But it is, it's alive, it's thriving. I mean, in fact, I have a funny story. As I said, I lived in Maryland, in an area that is called National Harbor, which is kind of mainly a little tourist area. But one day my husband comes home from work and he said, "Hey, I know that you wanted to talk to somebody about horses, and there's a couple, a man and a woman, riding horses through National Harbor right now." And I was like, "Seriously? No. And so I hurry up and I get dressed, because I'm in writer mode. I'm like, in my sweats and my T-shirt, no makeup, right. The whole, look. So I had to make myself presentable and go down, like 5 floors of my apartment to run out into this area looking for this couple on a horse. And so I literally walked for blocks trying to find them, looking for clues, looking for horses. Horses kind of leave some clues. So I'm running around this place looking for clues. And I came back to my husband. I'm like, "No, you are not telling me the truth. There is not a couple around here with horses." He's like, "Yes, I would not do this to you. I promise you. There was a couple riding horses. I never found them." But, that's definitely how much I was into it. But, yes, to answer your question, very much alive and well as a culture. And in fact, while I was there, the Bill Pickett Invitational was there. And the Bill Pickett Invitational is actually an event that features African-American cowgirls and cowboys.
Wow.
And so they came to the DMV or the DC area, and unfortunately, I was not able to go, and that was something that I wanted to, or had on my, I guess you could say, schedule, so to speak, for this year, but didn't get a chance to do it. Yeah, it's the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo. I want to make sure that I get it correct. But, yeah, it features cowboys and cowgirls of color, honoring them, celebrating them. And
it's in Maryland?
Well, it's not in Maryland. The invitational or the rodeo schedule itself takes place or would have taken place in different areas throughout the country. So they were
it travels. Okay.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I missed it, unfortunately. Now, of course, I wish I would have made time to do it. But if it does,
you didn't know we were going to be locked down.
Yeah, I know. It just didn't.
None of us knew the plague was coming.
Yeah, if only I knew. But, yeah, so they did have to change their plan because they were going to be in Memphis and in Tennessee and Oakland, California, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and then the DMV. So next year maybe.
Next time. That's right, next year. Yeah. By then we'll have a vaccine. Yeah. We'll be cool.
Exactly.
So what's next for you?
Wow. Have a few things on deck. I am finishing up the 3rd book in the Tilbridge series. I'm currently working on the 3rd book in the Breakup Bash series, which is with Entangled Publishing. So the Tilbridge series is with Harlequin. The Cowboys Claim was actually my debut book with them, so that was pretty exciting, my first Harlequin.
Yeah.
Because those books that I was sneaking around to read in my sister's bedroom were Harlequins. So it's kind of nice to have that. But to answer your question, the 3rd book in the Tilbridge series, the 3rd book in the Breakup Bash series, The Last Rule of Makeups, which involves a DJ. And then I was invited to write as part of the Fortunes of Texas series for Harlequin. It's a continuity series that's been going on for quite a while. So different different authors are able to contribute to this mass storyline, if you will, about this family, the Fortunes. So I'm working on that book as well. So pretty busy schedule.
Wow,
I was trying to come up with new ideas.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So happy for you.
Good.
So when you're busy with all these different projects, are you more of a plotter or a pantser? How does it work for you?
I am a pantser who is learning to be a plotter. I've had to become more of a plotter with all of. Well, you know,
I know Harlequin makes
plotter.
You do that. Yes.
Well, actually, my accountability partner does, because she's a huge plotter. She doesn't make me, but we've been together for quite a few years now, and she has always, you know, talked about the benefits of plotting things out, and more so now than ever, being able to have a little bit of a clear path, so that I'm staying on task and meeting deadlines as I should, particularly because it's not just writing the book, but as you know, we have to make time to, promote the book as well. And you have to make time for your, creating your next project. So it's a continuous cycle that requires focus, and it can become a lot. And I mean, if I do have to be honest, the end of last year, because I wasn't quite scheduling things as I should, I ended up getting sick. And so it was my wake-up call to make sure that I was taking care of myself and scheduling things properly and getting rest and exercise and all of the things that I should. So that's also part of the reason that I'm becoming more of a scheduler on all fronts, because sometimes as authors, we're sitting around and, it's a lot easier to not get up, and it's a lot easier to grab, the donuts and, the snacky things and live on caffeine and not take care of ourselves. And when it comes to longevity of career, you got to take care of yourself. It's just a practical thing to do, and you feel good.
Yeah, it's really hard to write if you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to get that out there.
Yeah, I can't meet that deadline if I'm 6 feet under, so self-care is important.
Exactly. Yes. Make it a priority.
So who inspires you? Do you read certain authors to go, oh my God, and then it makes you want to write?
I don't know that well, no, that's not true. Definitely. When you read something that just really draws you in and catches your attention, then it definitely motivates you. And so I haven't been able to get a whole lot of as much reading as I would like to, so I'm kind of playing catch up right now. And so one of the books that I was able to grab that's been on my shelf forever, have you heard of the Alice Network by Kate Quinn? The Alice Network was actually kind of interesting. To relax, I sometimes go away from romance a little bit. And so the Alice Network actually kind of functions on two timelines. And let's see if I could just kind of tell you briefly, but it has a 1947 and a 1950 timeline, and the two characters, what's happening in their lives connect in a very interesting way, because it involves women spies during, World War I and World War II, basically. So and so there was something called the Alice Network with this group of women spies who were getting information and bringing it back so that the war could be won. So that was one book that I was reading that, was definitely away from romance. I'm excited about The Queen Move by Kennedy Ryan. I have that on my Kindle now, and I'm excited to read about it as I've heard some really wonderful things, about that book. And Kennedy Ryan just writes fabulous stories. And I could go on forever. My Kindle right now, or my iPad actually right now, is just bursting with so many stories. Because
right.
I've had an opportunity to go to different places to talk about the book online. And one of the questions I asked, what are you reading? And so when I heard some of the books that people were reading, it's I got to get that. Oh, I got to get that.
You're right.
Get that too.
Yeah. I can totally relate.
So, yeah. So,
well, sadly,
definitely...
we're running out of time, and I don't want her to hang up on you. So before we go, can you tell us where readers can get in touch with you? Where do you connect with all your readers?
You can find me on Instagram a lot of the time. That's the main place that you'll find me. Facebook would be the second. And then, of course, my newsletter is an excellent way to keep up on where I am and what I'm doing. And you can find out all the connections for my social media on my website.
Perfect. And I put a link to her website right there on the Blog Talk site. So please check out Nina, and thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for joining us on
See you
Book
later.
Lights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.
The Hollywood Reporter is your ultimate source for awards race news this fall. Go to thr.com to keep up with this award season's expert predictions from executive editor Scott Feinberg, and tune into the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast for exclusive interviews with the biggest names in showbiz. Stay in the loop with daily newsletters providing real-time updates on all the awards action. Subscribe to thr.com for full access to the Hollywood Reporter and never miss a moment of this fall awards season. Visit thr.com today.
Lucky Land Slots, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.